Hey there, you're listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion. Here's your host, RJ Carbone.
And a high drive in the left center field. Stanley's going to watch another one fly. Are you kidding me? DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang! Knicks take a
Take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
At the wall. See ya! See ya! See ya! Mr. Nova.
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down and the game is tied.
Rose, you shook up the world again.
I did it again. My God did it, man. I really just had
Gonna have to. Brunson running away. Oh my! He has been the best player to put on that uniform.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
All right. Well, I feel good. I feel happy. The Knicks looking better. Better and better and better and better. They are now 20-10 on the season. They've gone 15-4 since their 5-6 start. So from a .456 win percentage through their first 11 to a .790 win percentage in their last 19. They're also currently on a 5-game win streak, which now has them, don't look now, but it has them just 2 games back behind Boston for second place in the conference. With Boston's loss yesterday, thanks Philly, and the Knicks win yesterday, the Knicks are right there. So for as much as an up and down roller coaster this has been so far, through 30 games, which is, it's got to be close to 40% of the season now. It's not bad to be in the position they're in, you know. And excuse me, I'm a little ill, under the weather a little bit, have a bit of a cold. It is Christmas time. It's December 26th as I'm recording, so I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. But I certainly did yesterday. 12 p.m. game. And I watched the entire thing, and I was cussing. I was going through the emotions. It was a wild back and forth game. But this resulted in a big Knicks victory, 117-114 over the Spurs at the Garden, giving them another best win of the year candidate right there. I mean, this was a game. This was a game. It was a Christmas Day game, the first game on Christmas Day yesterday. They gave that to the Knicks. It was intense. Madison Square Garden, Wemby coming in, you know, and the Knicks they win this game yesterday with timely plays, which is how they won the math game. A lot of timely plays. The Knicks finished this game with 17 more shot attempts than the Spurs. 6 more second chance points. 17 offensive rebounds in total. San Antonio finished with 8. Josh Hart grabs the big offensive rebound in the final seconds. The Knicks had 10 less turnovers than the Spurs did. They only had 5, the Knicks. So they won the math game, which is how they won a lot of their games last year. That's how the Knicks won yesterday. But it was fun, man. Knicks Spurs has been a great battle lately. You know, you go back to last year, you had the Brunson versus Wemby game. And now you get yesterday, Brunson and Towns, for that reason, were both off very much yesterday. None of them had good games. And so it came down to Mikal Bridges. And Mikal and Wemby are going back and forth yesterday. But Mikal gets the final laugh as he pushes the Knicks over the edge with, again, another 117-114 victory at Madison Square Garden on Knicksmas. Merry Knicksmas, everybody. This Knick offense continues to be a thing of beauty when it's clicking. because they're so deep offensively, they don't need Brunson and Cat to go crazy all the time, right? Hart had a casual 12-12-6 with 2 steals. Knocks down a big 3 with the Knicks down 5 points in less than a minute and a half left. You know, the Spurs are paying no attention to him, and he's on the three-point line, and he remains aggressive. And that's always key with Josh Hart. When they ignore you, because they will, you either have to shoot or drive the open space. And if the defense is not even going to bother to close, then you have to shoot that. And then he makes, again, the big play at the end. Deuce McBride didn't have a great game numbers-wise, but he knocks down 2 big threes in this game. One came in the second quarter where it looked like the Knicks were starting to let the game slip away a little bit. Down by double figures, or on the verge of being down by double figures. He knocks down a big three-pointer to keep them in it. And then the fourth quarter comes. The game is tied. There's about 2 minutes and change left. Knocks down another 3 to put them ahead. Anunoby and Achua were great defensively. But of course, this game was all about Mikal Bridges playing like the guy the Knicks paid for. And man, does that sound good to say. The fact that we haven't been hearing about these stupid picks lately, I can take a sigh of relief. Thank God. Excuse me. But yesterday was the Mikal Bridges game. And that's exactly where I want to start in this game. Mikal Bridges gets the bing bong game ball of the game. He was utterly fantastic, making that the Mikal game. Not the Brooklyn game from a month ago. Not the Pelicans game from earlier this month. Not even the Minnesota game a week ago. No, yesterday was the Mikal Bridges game. 41 points, 17 for 25 shooting, 6 for 9 from 3, 4 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, a +8, played 43 minutes. He was active on both ends. That's what stood out to me with Mikal Bridges yesterday, was his activity on both sides of the floor. Offensively, just hunting for open looks, cutting, right? Constantly losing Devin Vassell because Devin Vassell was spending most of his time out there ball watching defensively. So he was cutting off for that, setting himself up for easy baskets a number of times. There was this one possession late in the third quarter. He gets an and one because he cuts into space, which allows him an opportunity to grab the offensive rebound, which he does, shoots it in traffic, converts the and one. Cutting, relocating, spacing, filling the gaps, just being relentless out there, right? If he's not, and on both ends, but offensively, just relentless. Like if the primary action involving Mikal Bridges doesn't work, Mikal Bridges wasn't just going to leave the action and space out after that. No, he would flow it into something else. Let's go to the secondary action. Let me cut off that. It was really impressive to watch. The first basket of the game yesterday came out of a familiar set where the Knicks run a lot of offense from, where the Knicks get a set out of the Chin series, where Brunson comes off a Towns screen. He cuts back up to receive a pass from Mikal, and you have Devin Vassell, who's, again, his assignment was Mikal. He's ball watching Brunson and Towns on the other side because of their gravity in pick and roll. So Mikal uses that to cut into space on the weak side. Brunson finds Mikal for a corner three-pointer. A couple of minutes later, the Knicks run another set that they run a lot. I don't know the name of this action. But you got Mikal on the weak side corner with Brunson and Towns in stagger. And that leaves the Knicks with multiple options out of that set. They could do a lot of things in a stagger. But this time, Mikal runs Devin Vassell into Brunson's screen. He cuts into space near the basket because Sohan doesn't switch it. And Wemby, who's at the top of the key, can't really bring help. He can't drop because he's focused on Towns up top, who's got shooting gravity. So Mikal gets an easy look. Third quarter, 7 minutes and change left. There's an action on the right wing where Mikal drives the closeout for a finish. And I love seeing him apply pressure to the basket. That's what you want to see more. He doesn't do that a ton, but when he does, he's been effective, or he was effective yesterday. Excuse me. Third quarter, midway through about. Mikal sets a side screen for Jalen. Sohan and Vassell miscommunicate the switch, so they both go to Brunson off the screen. Mikal fades into space. Towns screens on the right wing. Mikal cuts from the top of the key. He cuts middle. But Brunson doesn't make the pocket pass. So, as I was saying, Mikal just being relentless and continuing the action. He relocates around Brunson on the strong side, puts Wemby into motion, and now Wemby's a bit unbalanced on his closeout. So Mikal attacks Wemby's outside foot and he finishes at the basket. Initial action doesn't work. Let's go to his secondary. 6 minutes and change left in the game. Mikal and Towns, it seems like they were going to try DHO, but they fail at it on the right wing. So Mikal, again, pivots to something else, and he screens for Towns. This happened a couple times in this game. Mikal screens for Towns. That creates a late switch with Wemby on Mikal at the top of the arc. Wemby's focused on bringing paint help, so Mikal relocates back to the wing to escape Wemby and to create a clear passing lane for OG Anunoby, who's got the ball underneath the basket. So OG makes the read, and he finds Mikal, who knocks down a corner catch and shoot. I think Hart was in between there, so it was OG to Hart to Mikal. Also in the fourth quarter, with Brunson not really playing well and Towns in foul trouble, the Knicks had to pivot to Mikal Bridges, and they had to run offense through him for a lot of that fourth quarter. With 8 minutes left, this was with Brunson and Towns on the floor, but they had him in an action where Brunson and Towns run an empty side pick and roll. Mikal's on the second side. And it's this action where there's like a cluster space where it's Mikal in between Deuce and Hart, or right next to Deuce and Hart. And the entire Spurs defense is ball watching from the empty side because Brunson and Towns have that pick and roll gravity, right? So Hart cuts down from the weak side. That clears space for Mikal. Deuce sets a pinning screen on CP3. And Brunson finds Mikal Bridges for a catch and shoot wing three. With less than 5 minutes left, this is when Brunson and Towns are off the floor. So credit to Thibs for making that decision. You get a lot of chemistry between Mikal and Precious. Precious sets a pin down on the right wing. That clears the lane for OG to make a back cut. Mikal comes off, receives the pass from Josh Hart at the top of the arc. Precious rescreens the pin into a down screen. Mikal makes a pocket pass to Precious instead of attacking Wemby middle. And then Mikal and Precious flow that into a pistol, where they DH it to pick and roll. Mikal picks up the assist as Precious knocks down a little bit of a floater. That gives the Knicks the lead. 4 minutes left. You get a high pick and roll between Mikal and Precious. Mikal comes off. JC is detached off the Precious screen. Once JC recovers, Mikal stops on a dime and steps back for a mid-range jumper with the separation he creates at the nail. 2 minutes left. Brunson comes back in, but the Knicks still run an action for Mikal. Mikal comes off a Precious down screen, receives the ball from Brunson up top. Brunson clears the weak side. And again, you get Mikal and Precious in another pick and roll. Brunson clears to the weak side. Mikal Precious run pick and roll. Mikal fakes a reject to beat Sohan right. Drives on Wemby going downhill. And again stops on a dime to create separation. And knocks down a turnaround elbow jumper. With 1 minute and a half left in this game, Mikal comes off another Precious to a down screen. Brunson once again clears to the weak side. Mikal uses a precious rescreen to screen CP3 out of the pick and roll action. Mikal comes off the screen, and Castle, who's unable to bring wing help because he's got to focus on Brunson with Brunson's gravity, leaves an open lane for Mikal. As CP3 recovers, Precious rescreens again to bump him off a step. That creates more separation for Mikal, and Mikal rises up for another mid-range jumper. Just constantly moving, hunting shots, looking for windows to get a shot off. That's the aggressiveness we want to see. And again, it was on the other side of the floor as well. The defensive activity, the relentlessness, the relentlessness, the physicality, right? Being felt. This has been a theme all season. How we've consistently talked about how Mikal's just not being felt out there. He needs to be felt. They need to know his presence. He's not physical enough. Well, continuing to see more of that. I thought he did a very good job at the point of attack, fighting over the top. When he was screened off or when he was forced to go under, he was staying attached still because of his physicality, because he used his wingspan, because of his effort level. I think a good example of that was, it was in the third quarter, 8 minutes and change maybe. The Spurs, they get out running. They're in transition, but Mikal sprints back to the other end to block a Devin Vassell wing three-pointer. That kept the game tied. It was a big block. And then not long after that in the third quarter, maybe late third quarter, the Spurs run a pistol set. They run pistol on the left wing. Mikal gets beat by Castle, but he stays with them. Doesn't give up on the play, and he ends up blocking the shot with a rear view contest at the basket using his wingspan. That kept the Knicks in the lead. So you always knew offensively that he was going to come around. That wasn't really a big concern. I'm still keeping an eye on the above the break shooting. But defensively, I was getting a little concerned there, man. Defending at the point of attack, I was starting to think, well, should they go somewhere else? Should they pivot to OG Anunoby guarding those ball screens? Should it be Josh Hart? Should they use Mikal in help? Because when he won Defensive Player of the Year with Phoenix, he was in help more. But you're starting to see the last couple of weeks, he's defending at the point of attack a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better each game. And of course, he's maintaining the offensive production, and he's taken an uptick there as well. The season stats are looking sharper and sharper with Mikal Bridges. He's got his third game ball now of the year. But his season numbers, he's up to 18 points per game on 50% shooting, and the three-point percentage is up to 37%. Good to see. But he's had a huge month of December. In 11 games this month, averaging 40 minutes per game, he's dropping 23 points per game on 58% shooting, 47% from three on about 7.5 attempts per game. And he's got a box score of a plus 14.2. So he's playing winning minutes. He's giving the Knicks winning minutes. Another big theme we've talked about all year with Mikal. We need the Knicks to start winning those minutes. So that's been something that's progressed each month. And it's because of his offense, but also his defense taking an uptick. So good for him. I am filling out my apology form as we speak. Okay? And I will have it submitted by tomorrow night per Josh Hart's request. But really good to see the two-way play from Mikal Bridges yesterday. Offense and the defense. I want to get to some more defensive stuff when we return from our first break here on the podcast in episode 767 of BD4. We'll be right back. Stay with us. BD4 is available on social media for those who want to follow. You can find BD4 on Instagram at BD4Pod. You can find us on X at BD4Pod. And you can find us on Facebook by simply searching BD4. Hey guys, just a quick reminder, this podcast is also available in video format on YouTube. So be sure to go over to the YouTube channel, BD4, subscribe, like the videos, comment, and tell me how much I suck or maybe how much you like the video. We'd very much appreciate it. Don't have time to sit down and watch a video? You can listen to BD4 on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And you can also watch the video format on Spotify too. You know, the Knicks don't win this game. I truly believe the Knicks don't win this game without Tom Thibodeau making the adjustment that he did. You know, Victor Wembanyama, we haven't even mentioned the kid's name yet, and I feel bad that we haven't. As much trolling as I did on Twitter yesterday, I really do respect the kid. He's obviously going to be a terror for this league. He's going to be a nightmare for anybody who's not a Spurs fan. They're going to hate playing this team, even if the Spurs are, like this year, not crazy. Not crazy at all. They're a playing team at the moment. You don't want to play the Spurs, because this guy's impact on a whole team is so large that playing the Spurs may as well be playing a top seed because of this kid. And, you know, I was around for when Giannis first broke into the league. You know, I was around for when LeBron first came in. I wasn't a big fan of basketball back then, but like there's a lot of hype, and then it doesn't pan out. And there's a lot of hype where it does pan out. And then there's hype like you hear on Victor Wembanyama, where is there a world where this thing pans out to be even better than the hype? Like, this kid is crazy. He's a freak of nature. I want to say he's about 7'6". He's 7'6". I don't know what he's listed as. He's no less than 7'5". He's athletic. He's obviously long. He can shoot. He can go to the mid-range. He can shoot over anybody against any closeout because he's that big. He's obviously a blocks machine. He moves his feet pretty well when he's defending pick and roll. I mean, this kid is a terror. So going back to why, you know, I'm mentioning defense and Wembanyama. In the same game, he drops 42 points, 18 rebounds, 4 blocks, 4 assists, a steal, and knocks down 6 threes, was because I like the adjustments the Knicks made. And, you know, as anybody who watches this podcast, listens to this podcast, wherever you get it, like, I'm an advocate for the Knicks to switch everything. I've been advocating for this all year, that I want Thibs to do more switching. And obviously yesterday was not the matchup where you wanted that. Right? This is because the Knicks' 2 biggest weak points on defense are the 2 positions that are involved in most pick and rolls. And you saw the moments of vulnerability when Brunson was left as the mismatch on Wemby. But obviously the Knicks weren't switching it much in this game. But you had Towns playing it straight up on him. And so the problem with that is just, I mean, it could have been Towns. It could have been prime Dwight Howard, like the best defensive big ever. I don't think it would have mattered. But you saw plenty of other moments where Towns was abused by Victor Wembanyama. He had a tough time. So this was the initial matchup. The initial matchup in this game was to put Towns on Wemby. And Towns was in foul trouble for most of the game. He had 5 fouls by the end of the game. Didn't play down the stretch because of that. He was a minus 13, which was tied for the worst box score in the game. Wemby was a plus 7, which was second best on his team, 5th best in the game. But Thibs made the correct switch late in the game, and it paid off by going to OG Anunoby to guard Wemby. Putting OG onto Wemby. Perfect execution. Wemby ended up being scoreless in the final half of the fourth quarter, which is a win. When he was needed most, in crunch time, Wemby didn't score a single point. And you have to credit Tom Thibodeau for making that adjustment, for switching OG to Wemby. With 6 minutes and change left in the game, the Knicks are down 5 points. Wemby knocks down this three that he takes. Could very well be the Spurs game. You get a Vassell Wemby pick and roll where OG brings initial help to contain the ball, but then he recovers to Wemby on the pop and makes a very tough, very high contest to force a three-point miss. Hart grabs the rebound. The Knicks get out in transition. With 3 minutes left in the game, 3 minutes and change left in the game, the Knicks are only up 1 point. Again, Wemby knocks this shot down, even less time for the Knicks to score on 2 possessions. It's a Chris Paul, Wemby high pick and roll. Deuce McBride gets caught on the screen, so he's behind. OG switches it as Deuce recovers. Chris Paul swings to Wemby, who's one pass away, strong side. OG recovers to make another effective close, and he forces another tough 3-point miss with a great contest. Precious grabs the board. The Knicks get out in transition. His ability to use his wingspan to his full advantage is up there with the best wings in the NBA. If he's probably the best wing at maximizing his wingspan, if that makes any sense. So it wasn't just Mikal Bridges yesterday defensively. And it wasn't just OG either. Precious, I thought, did a great job. You know, Precious's ability to switch and guard 1 to 5 affords the Knicks to have OG take on the best weapon when they need to. Right? The Knicks normally like to keep OG in help. They like to use him as low man or just in help on the backside, just so, you know, they can have him on the worst weapon so that he's able to take on the best weapon. Right? But in this game down the stretch, the Knicks went to OG on Wemby, and they were able to do that because Precious can guard 1 to 5. You can't put OG on Wemby like you did without Precious being available. Precious is a big who can switch down to point, who can switch down to wing, or he can slide up to other bigs occasionally. But he held his own on Wembanyama as well. Like, there were even moments when Precious had to guard Wemby down the stretch, and I thought he did his job. There was a moment when he switched onto him, and he contested it very well, but Wemby's just, you know, a unicorn, whatever you want to call him, an alien. And there was that stop he made with 2 minutes left, and the Knicks are up 3 points. He does a great job of staying with him on an island in mid-range, and he makes a clean contest on Wemby, who takes an elbow jumper. Precious makes a really good contest, doesn't foul, gets in his face, and he forces a Wemby miss. And once again, the Knicks grab the board, and they're out in transition. And so that is why I also want to pivot to Precious Achiuwa and hand him the game ball from off the bench. I thought Precious was great off the bench yesterday in a game where Deuce McBride wasn't exactly lights out, in a game where Campaign got hurt after the first few minutes he played. I haven't seen an update on him yet. But for all the reasons we just talked about, his defense down the stretch and throughout the game, and his screening for Mikal Bridges down the stretch, I give him his first game ball of the year. 5 points, 10 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block, a plus 14 across 20 minutes. Precious Achiuwa. Good to see, man. You know, he's had some good games. He's had some very ugly games so far since returning. This was probably his best game. Up there with his first game back earlier this year. Earlier this month, whenever it was. So, I think that's all I have to add. again, I'm a little bit under the weather, so I'm trying not to go too deep into this, but we are 30 minutes in. That's about where we usually wrap these up. So what we're going to do is head to break. And when we get back from break, we will wrap this up with our trivia question. And then that should be that. So stay with us here on episode 767 of BD4. The Knicks beat the Spurs 117-114 at the Garden yesterday on Knicksmas. Stay with us. We'll be right back. If you feel like supporting the podcast, you can Venmo at Robert-Carbone-JR-28. We really appreciate your support. Do you enjoy Yankees baseball but are tired of hearing me yap? I have a suggestion for you. Go check out Yankee Crazy Podcast. Greg Gill is a Yankees podcaster on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and he's now selling merch. Go to yankeecrazy.myshopify.com. Stay connected with us. Visit BD4blog.com to explore our blog, tune in to our latest podcasts, and follow us on social media. Thank you for being a part of this community. All right. Woo, that was a big crack. All right. Listen, my voice cracks enough as it is. I think it's about tripled in this episode because I'm a little sick. Episode 767, welcome back. Hey, let's wrap this up with our trivia question. All right. So for this question, obviously a Christmas-themed question, pretty straightforward. Our trivia question for this episode: how many wins do the Knicks have on Christmas Day? All right, I'll give you a hint if you want a hint. It is the most of all time. That's more due to their longevity. This is a team that's been around since 1946. But that aside, how many wins do the Knicks have on Christmas Day? How many wins do the Knicks have on Christmas Day? This is obviously all time. So thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate for listening to the show. Maybe you're on YouTube watching the video format of the show. I appreciate it very much, very much. There it is again. But the Knicks win 117-114 over the Spurs on Knicksmas yesterday. Appreciate you all for tuning in and listening to this garbage. Hey, I hope you all had a great Christmas, and I hope you have a great rest of the holiday season. Happy New Year. Whatever it is you celebrate, hope you have a good one, and I appreciate it as always. I'll see you in the next show. Well, if you made it this far, that means you listened to or watched the entire episode. Thank you. Just remember to follow, subscribe, download, rate and review, and all that fun stuff to help out the podcast, and I will see you in the next episode of BD4.